don't even know where to start. And not just with the performance, but what was going against them entering that performance last night in Los Angeles. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates that I hope you'll additionally check out. Penguins 5, Kings 1. Top to bottom on the depth chart. Front to finish on the clock. Across all 200 by 85 of ice, the Penguins owned that game. It was their most complete performance of the season by an almost disturbing margin. There's nothing that they didn't get. Sid scored and was terrific. Gino scored and was terrific. Chris Letang scored and was terrific. And from the core on out, it just keeps going. Kevin Hayes, Cody Glass, and Anthony Beauvillier had the other goals. Alex Nedeljkovic had 25 saves, but had to make some pretty good ones at specific times. You know, like right after the Penguins score, you don't want to give one up right away. He had to make a big save. Penguins go down the other way, and Glass gets a goal. And this is how things are supposed to work. But they'd never, not all season, worked the way they did last night. Here's some of what Sid had to say about that to our Taylor Haas at Crypto.com Arena.
Yeah, I thought everyone played well. It was a great effort. Both sides of the puck. You know, we give up the 5-on-3 goal, kill the next one, and then get a big goal from Glass or two. So I thought we managed the game really well.
And there was so much going against this team. The list is actually longer of what was going against them than what they ended up doing. Ricard Raquel had to fly home on a family matter. Here's hoping everything's okay on that front. Third game in 4 nights for these guys in 3 different cities. Flying all the way out west. Not having a practice in the interim. It was just a day spent on an airplane. And the other guys, in addition to being a really, really good hockey team, the Kings were 14-2-1 on home ice. The Kings hadn't lost a game on home ice in regulation since November. The Kings are, regardless of where they play, one of the NHL's stingiest operations. And the Kings, of course, had the additional emotional factor of having it be their first home game since the California wildfires began, with a really first-class ceremony beforehand that involved a lot of LA City Fire Department workers standing around the circle. Sid and Anze Kopitar met with them at center ice, ceremonial puck drop, and none of that kept the Penguins from doing what it was that they wanted to do from beginning to end. And you can say what you want about the Kings and how they played. That's their problem, okay? Let them deal with that. What I saw, regardless of the opponent, was the Penguins doing all the right stuff in all 3 zones and doing so seamlessly in a way that, well, how do I put this? I really, really don't like to think of myself as the told you so type. And I understand there's still a lot of trip left and that this was only 1 game out of 49. But I've been saying on this show for a while that this has been coming, with very few exceptions over the past probably month and a half, maybe a little bit longer than that, 7 weeks. These players have gotten on board with a certain style of play, that, of course, dictated by Mike Sullivan. They have embraced it. They've gotten totally behind it. Sullivan, to his credit, has made some, what's the word he uses? Wrinkles is the one. Yeah, he says wrinkles. There's some wrinkles that have been put in. What all the wrinkles really are is he's asking the defensemen to be a little bit more judicious about when they pinch. I'm not breaking any news here. I've shared this before. So you're not seeing even a fraction of the odd man breaks against it they'd been given up before. Now, can the Penguins lay an egg every once in a while? Yeah. They've already had one on this trip. And no, I'm not talking about Washington. I thought they played okay in Washington. I'm talking about Buffalo. I thought they were as terrible in Buffalo as Ned was great. But then they bounce right back, and that's another characteristic that you're starting to see from this team that wasn't in place before, that resiliency. You had to have felt that if you stayed up to watch last night. You had to have felt how after Adrian Kempe scored his 5 millionth goal against the Penguins, in only 14 career games, by the way, a real feat, the Penguins weren't going to have any of it. They just immediately bounced back, attacked the Los Angeles net, and got themselves the glass goal to make them forget the Kempe goal had even happened. Now, where does that come from? Where does that confidence, that tenacity, that toughness, where does that come from? Oh, boy. You know, I have an answer here. I'm not going to share it because I'm not prepared for all the backlash, but I do have an answer for it. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Eric, who asks, plain and simple, DK, what are your thoughts on Phil Tomasino's game? I thought he played great in the game against the Kings. Eric, I have put Tomasino and Cody Glass into a little separate category for myself, not just because they both were first-round picks who were jettisoned by the Predators. And not because I want to see more of them to see if they fail, because I suspect that they're not as good as what they've shown to date. Instead, it's the other way around. For those of you who are new to either hockey or even just to hockey in Pittsburgh, over the years, we've seen players with the Penguins in the Tomasino/Glass mold come to this franchise and find themselves offensively. Whatever their previous employer wanted from them, the Penguins wanted less of that and more of the offense. Now, I'm referring to more distant history here. This is not at all a Mike Sullivan trait. But that did at least teach me to be patient in terms of evaluating kids who were high-end prospects at some point, whether it was the draft or even through the juniors or the minors or Europe or whatever, and to just wait until they have a chance to spread their wings a little bit. There is a reason that when Tomasino got to Pittsburgh, he immediately scored. Remember? Just a bunch of goals. And there's a reason that in turn, Sullivan expressed no surprise at that whatsoever. Now, there's also a reason that even though Glass hasn't scored at anywhere near the same rate, Sullivan is always tacking on to any sort of remark that he makes about Glass that he feels there's more in there, because he's referring to offense. And when you see some of the plays that Glass makes, you can see why. They're not low-end, fourth-line plugger type ram the puck into the back of the net kind of goals, although the one he had last night was that. So I apologize for taking your question about one player and making it about two, but I put them both in that category because I'm ready to be patient to see what they can do with more time, with more confidence, with more familiarity, not just with the system, but with their line mates. They've been changing line mates. They haven't really gotten power play time. So let's see how that goes. My best attempt to answer what you actually asked is that the play that he made last night to set up Gino's goal was through the roof good. The passes that he made in that game, not just that one, were things I wasn't aware of, because having him here for whatever it's been, 25 games or so, just isn't enough. And if he can continue making plays like that, continue establishing a general presence like that on the rink, and his line mates learn to move for him and appreciate that he's capable of making that pass if they find open ice, then things morph all the more. If you didn't stay up last night and you haven't seen the full highlights package of the game, do yourself a favor and at least find Gino's goal from last night. Don't watch Gino, as great as he was on that whole shift. Look at the vision, the balance, the turn, and the backhand execution that Tomasino made to set him up. It's good stuff. And yes, Eric, it's promising. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.